Everything that is explained in this video is summarized from CoinMarketCap. And also, please don't forget to support my channel for more XRP updates and some other cryptocurrencies as a whole. Now take a look at this. Regal X is the SEC Sega. Legal expert unravels the bigger argument in the lawsuit. Jay Murphy, popularly known as Metalwoman, has stepped into the legal dispute between Ripple Labs and the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, expressing his opinion on the larger argument in the case. Murphy was the former founder and chairman of the law firm Murphy and McGonigal. Concerning the Ripple versus SEC case, a more significant argument in an interview with Scott Melker on The Wolf, James Murphy discussed the SEC's damages theory in the case. In the course of the conversation, he shared his thoughts on the legal conflict they were involved in. It has been reported by Murphy that Ripple recently received an extremely fortunate break, which he considers to be the more significant argument in the court case. As briefing deadlines draw near, the battle between Ripple and the SEC is getting closer and closer to its climax. Following this, he brought to light a previous decision made by the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, which specifies that for there to be a disgorgement, the Securities and Exchange Commission must demonstrate that there was misbehavior by naming genuine victims who had lost money or something that was defined as pecuniary injury. At the end of the previous year, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals issued a ruling that stated that for there to be a disgorgement, there must be victims of the frauds, victims of the breach of the securities legislation. It is necessary for there to be a concept known as financial harm, which would refer to actual losses. Murphy, however, argued that a portion of the SEC's file on the damages theory mentioned the presence of financial injury in XRP sales, but that these statements do not equate to a single purchase of XRP. This assertion was applied to the SEC submission on the damages theory. The action filed by the Securities and Exchange Commission is based in general on the idea that certain purchasers of XRP were financially harmed because they purchased the product at a lower price than other purchasers. As a consequence of this, it would be challenging for the court to demonstrate that the proposed punishment of $850 is justified in the absence of evidence of actual harm. Taking into consideration the specifics of the situation, Murphy thinks that the aforementioned number will be drastically reduced after the disciplinary measures have been decided upon. Murphy, in his discussion of the idea of disgorgement, underlined that in the absence of identifiable victims, the disgorgement that aims to pay individuals who have been damaged for illegal earnings becomes untenable. Because interest causes a disgorgement, there is no interest of $200 million. Despite this, it is still feasible to impose a punishment even in the absence of victims in disgorgement judgment. The SEC asked for a fine of $2 billion. It is important to note that the Securities and Exchange Commission has submitted a motion to the United States District Judge Torres Annalisa requesting that the payment company Ripple pay the fine that it has demanded, which is around $2 billion. As a result of Judge Fala's findings about important securities aspects in wallet service, staking service, secondary market sales, and other areas, the United States Securities and Exchange Commission has achieved a partial victory in the Coinbase case. Binance and other defendants are the targets of the United States Securities and Exchange Commission's SEC efforts to leverage key decisions in the Coinbase case, including the dismissal of the complaint. In the Binance lawsuit, the SEC has filed a ruling of Coinbase. Late on March 27, the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, which is the plaintiff in the case, filed a notice of additional authority with the court. This notice informed the court about the decision that Judge Fala made in the case of SCVCV Coinbase. The Binance class action lawsuit will be followed by this supplemental authority, which will be the second legitimate supplemental authority against Binance, Binance.us, and ChangePay. Zhao, the Securities and Exchange Commission, as she wired, has just notified the court rather than contesting points relating to the dismissal of Binance's complaint. This is to an earlier decision made by the court about additional authority for the unregistered offers and sales of BNB, Bust, and crypto lending products, Simple Earn, and BNB Vault. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEBI, has filed charges against Binance in his decision regarding Ripple. Judge Fala fully disregarded the reasoning that Judge Torres presented, which stated that secondary market purchases cannot be considered investment contracts because the buyer is unaware of who they are purchasing from. In the meantime, the litigation between Binance and the SEC has progressed to the final stages of the dispute resolution process, with a final joint status report and a potential briefing scheduled for April. The defendants have satisfied practically all of the restrictions that the United States Securities and Exchange Commission imposed regarding discovery and depositions. A major issue about a legal precedent that states the Securities and Exchange Commission is required to demonstrate misconduct by identifying victims who have lost actual money is brought up by him as a result of a decision made by the Second Circuit Court of Appeal. Melker throws light on the losses theory proposed by the SEC and draws attention to a significant issue. No users of XRP can be identified as having experienced a loss of money. Instead, the case that the SEC is presenting is predicated on the notion that certain purchasers purchased XRP at reduced prices. This is an allegation that goes beyond the scope of pecuniary harm because it does not demonstrate that certain businesses have suffered financial losses. Because the SEC has not been able to identify identifiable victims who have suffered actual financial losses, the case that they have presented is much inferior. The disgorgement concept, which seeks to repay illegal earnings to those who have been damaged, is rendered ineffective when there are no victims that can be independently identified. Because of this, the legality of the interest claim of $200 million that the SEC has made is called into doubt because it is dependent on the presence of customers who have been dissuaded from purchasing and have experienced financial injury. Melker's research gives the impression that Ripple may have been fortunate in this court case, which is an interesting interpretation of the situation. As there is no evidence that the defendant caused any harm, it would be difficult for the court to demonstrate that the proposed punishment of $850 million is reasonable, because this demonstrates how vital it is to show real financial harm in securities claims. And the fact that Ripple may have a stronger case than was previously believed is another implication of this. Are you aware that Terraform Labs is going to be facing the SEC in a high-stakes trial, issuing of judges' instructions to the jury implications for the future, taking a look into the future? The Securities and Exchange Commission has sought an astounding $2 billion, which is unfair to many people. Ripple, on the other hand, is fighting back, claiming that the accusations are an intimidation technique and an overreach, in addition to the appeal. The most current action taken by the SEC is the source of this. This kind of financial pressure has the potential to have a significant impact on Ripple's operations as well as the value of XRP on the secondary market. Considering that the legal drama is still ongoing, investors are keeping a close eye on how it may evolve for Bitcoin in the future. The information that has been provided is not intended to be trading advice. There is no responsibility for any investments that are made based on the information that is provided on this page. Before making any decision about investments, we strongly advise conducting independent research and consulting with a knowledgeable professional about investments. We strongly advise conducting independent research and consulting with a knowledgeable professional.